Yesterday we were discussing about this theorem. In this theorem it is stated that G be a group. Let us suppose this G having some elements, let us suppose A, B and C. There are three elements. And this G has two subgroups. Let us suppose the first subgroup is H having two elements A, B. This is H. And there is one more subgroup K. This is, let us suppose this has three elements B, C. Because if these are subgroups, then they will have at least one common element, which is identity, because we know that identity is unique for a group, and the same identity will be exist in their subgroups. So here suppose we are assuming that B is an identity, so this is a group and these are two its subgroup. Now in this problem it is stated that the order of Hk, it means when you are multiplying these two subgroups H and K, then it will be equal to the order of H into order of K upon the order of their intersection. Here the elements which will be belonged in the intersection of H and K, this will be equal to B. This is B. Now you can understand this here. The order of this problem is the order of H into order of K upon order of H intersection K, which will be equal to order of HK. This will be our problem. Here let us suppose we are checking the order of H. It means the H has two elements, so the order of H will be 2. The order of K will be again 2, while the order of B, this will be again 1. So the result is 4. If you multiply these H and K, then you will get the possible combinations. When the A will be multiplied this B, then you will get AB, and again you will multiply this A with C, then you will get AC. The next element which will be equal to BB, however the value of BB will be equal to B, because in this case we are assuming that B is an identity. And the fourth element, this will be equal to BC. So this element will be equal to A, and this element is AC. This is element B, and this will be again element B, because in this example we are considering this B as an identity. So the total number of elements in their product, this is equal to A, AC, BB, AC and B. This is A. B, I think there is little mistake here, because this is BC. So this will be equal to C, BC. As you will multiply first AB, this is your AB, again you will multiply it AC, this is your AC, again you will multiply BB, and after that you will multiply B with C, then you will get BC. When you are multiplying with B and B is considering as an identity, so the value of the product will be remain as the element by which B is being multiplied. So this will be equal to AC. So the only one new element is appearing here. So the order of HK is equal to 4. Now we will prove this theorem. Let us suppose H and K, these are two finite subgroups of a group G. Then what will be the order of HK? The order of HK will be the number of distinct elements in HK, as we have discussed here. This will be the order. Let us suppose the intersection of H and K, there is a set which is denoting here by T, as we have calculated this H intersection K, and let us suppose we are calling this by name D. So D be the intersection of these sets. As we know that H and K, these are two subgroups, and in a theorem we have already discussed that intersection of two subgroups is always a subgroup. So H and K, these are two subgroups of G, so their intersection will be again a subgroup, as per a theorem which we have discussed in my previous lecture, perhaps which this lecture was recorded during last week. So the student will recall this theorem. So H intersection K, which is naming by D, so D will be a subgroup, and this will be the subgroup of G. So because G has a subgroup H and H has a subgroup D, so K, H and K, G has two subgroup H and K, and the H and K has the subgroup D. So their intersection D will be the subgroup of H, this will be the subgroup of K, as well as it will be the subgroup of G. So which is written here. This is the Lagrange theorem which we have studied in my last lecture. Now first we will look what is K. If, as we know that D be a subgroup and K is another subgroup. If this is and this D is a subset of K, this will be the subset of K. So the all element of this D will be available in K, because D is a subset of K and here D is a subgroup of this subgroup K. If I multiply this D by any element of this K, it means if I write the coset, then this coset will not contain any new element. As we know that the element of D are also the element of K, and if I multiply any two elements of K, then by closure property there will be no new element which will be created. So in this fashion that is not available in K. It means the product of this D with the every element of K will give a set, and that set will contains the all element of K. It means if I write coset with any element of K, that which is K1, then this is my this will be a right coset. Similarly, I am writing one more coset by element K2, and if I write all possible cosets by generated by every element of K and find their composition, their union, then there will be no new element which will not appear in K. So the union of these cosets will be equivalent to K, which is written here. If I multiply this K both side by H, then and apply the associative property, then this HD means, as you know that if you multiply H by H, then the resultant will be equal to H. And if I multiply this H by its any subgroup or subset D, then this will be always gives H. This is a theorem and we have discussed it on previous lecture. So the HK will be equivalent to the union of HKI. So we can write this union in detail in here. Let us suppose that is this union, it means the product of these two subgroups H and K having some common element. It means this product, it means this right coset, this right coset and this right coset has any common element, and which element is HKI and HKJ. Here we are writing not element, we are writing for coset. Let us suppose that these are not distinct coset and any two cosets are equivalent, then HKI is equivalent to HKJ. So in this case KI will be equal to KJ, which is not possible because the all elements of K are distinct. It means that there is no common element in this style. So these all cosets are distinct. It means these cosets are not equivalent or identical. Now we will write the formula of order of HK. So which will be equal to the number of cosets. It means as by using this relation we can see that what is HK. HK is the union of these cosets. So what will be the order of this HK? It means the number of elements which are available in HK, and what will be the number of elements in HK? This will be equal to order of each coset and the number of cosets. So the number of cosets into order of each cosets. Because the order of subgroup K is n, so there will be n cosets. This is the first coset generated by K1, this is the second coset generated by K2, and this is the nth coset generated by Kn. So the number of cosets are n into the order of each coset, because each coset is equivalent to subgroup K and their subgroup H, and there is no new element will be generated which is not available in H. So the order of each coset will be equal to H. When you are multiplying, please note it, when you are multiplying this H by its element K1, K2, K3 and so on, then in this scenario there will be no new element will be generated in this. So when you multiply this subgroup H with its any element, then no new element will be generated here, because these all are belonging to G. So we will write here the order of each coset will be equal to H. It means here no new elements will be generated, because H and K, these are the elements of G. So what is N? If you use Lagrange theorem, then the value of N, this is equal to OK upon OD, where D is the intersection of these two subgroups. So this will be equal to OH into OK upon order of D, and the order of D, which is equal to order of intersection of H and K. Hence, the order of the product of two subgroups will be equal to their indivisible order upon the order of their intersection. Now we will discuss the definition of normal subgroup. This is one more important topic here. Let G be a subgroup having a group having some elements A, B, C, and so on, and we are taking a subset of this group G. Let us suppose this has A, B, and only, let us suppose this contains only two elements A and B, and we are naming it by N. Then this N, it means this subset of this group G is called a normal subgroup if it satisfies the following properties. It means if you are taking any element from here, let us suppose I am taking element C from group G, and I am multiplying this N by in this manner, then C and C inverse. C and C inverse means this will be a new set, and the element of this set will be of the style C A C inverse, and the next element will be C B C inverse. Then these will be the new elements. This is C inverse. Then this set, these all elements will be equivalent to the elements of this N. Understood? The resultant of these compositions will always belong to N. It means the composition of such type will be available in this subgroup or this subgroup N. So this is the definition. If I am using here complete subgroup N at the place of any element, then this composition, the set of such type of composition will be a subset of N. This will be a improper subset of this N. This is the definition of normal subgroup. This is the one more additional point here. If it is non-abelian subgroup, it means it will not follow commutative property, and it is a normal subgroup. It means a normal subgroup which is not commutative is called Hamiltonian group. Please note it here, it is non-abelian. It means a non-normal subgroup which will not satisfy commutative property, then it will called a normal subgroup. Now we will prove a theorem. In this theorem we will prove that N will be a normal subgroup if this result is satisfied, and this is a bidirectional result. It means when X and X inverse is equivalent to N, then this N will be a normal subgroup, and when N is a normal subgroup, then this result will good hold. So this start the proof. Here let us suppose that condition is necessary. It means it is equivalent. As we know that if I have a subset which is having three elements A, B, C, and it is the A, then this A is the subset of its own itself. It is an improper subset. It means A is the subset of its own. So if these two sets are equal, then because here A is equivalent to A, these are identical. If these two sets are identical, then they will be a improper subset of each other. These two sets are identical, so the first will be the improper subset of second, and the second will be the improper subset of first. So this condition would hold here. Now we will start from the converse, and we are assuming this. Let us suppose this result is true. This is our equation number first. Now we will write its opposite. Let us suppose X inverse belongs to G, then X inverse will also belongs to G. Here because this X is taking from group G, not from N. We are taking this X and its inverse from G. So, and this result is true for every element of Z. So it will be obviously true for X inverse. So if I write it in this manner that X inverse, now here X inverse is treated as an element and I compose it on a subgroup N in this fashion that X inverse to the power -1. It means I am taking an element and the inverse of that element, and in the middle there is a subset. Now if I take this composition, then it will be the subset of N as per the equation number 1, because in equation number 1 we are taking here the element X, so that this result is true. If X belongs to G, then X inverse will also belongs to G. Now I am writing here this statement for X inverse. So this result is true. Now the inverse of the X inverse will be equivalent to X. So if on simplifying, it will be written as in this manner. Now I am multiplying both sides with element X. So we are multiplying here with X. So this will be the identity. And again I am multiplying both sides by X inverse. So this is the identity, and here we will apply the associative property. This will be the identity. So this N will be the subset of X and X inverse. This is our equation number 2, and it is stated on next slide. This is our equation number 2. By first equation we are stating that X and X inverse is the improper subset of N, while other hand we are saying that this N is the improper subset of X and X inverse, which cannot be true, which is true only a single situation, when these two sets are identical. So this X and X inverse which will be identical to N. This is the desired result which we want to prove. So we can say that if X and X inverse is again equal to Xn, then this N will be a normal subgroup, and if N be a normal subgroup, then these two sets will be identical. This is the necessary and sufficient condition, and to prove a subgroup as a normal subgroup, this is the sufficient relation which we will prove in our we will use in some next lectures and theorems. In case of any difficulty to understand any theorem or the definition of normal subgroup or any other point, please contact me. Thank you so much.